Welcome everyone. We should be starting in few minutes. We just wait for some late arrivals here, so just be patient. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Audio problem. Okay, now there was another laptop beside me that was causing some audio problems. I don't know if you could hear it or not, but anyway, welcome. My name is Mikko Utvonen. I'm the director of the data and visualization business area here in Finland. I have been around for ages, but all my working career I have been working with the data and analytics side of things. First with SIS Institute and then with Cognos and lately with Microsoft. So long, mostly technical background here. Then we have other speakers. We have Karina, and she's a senior data engineer from Oslo, Norway, and she is a part of the data and analytics team in Norway. The team has experts in data science and AI analytics and data engineering. She has some 7 years experience in data projects and has done a lot with Microsoft data platforms and across various industries like banking and finance and retail, healthcare and construction. Then we have Lasse Arnesen from Microsoft. He is a solution architect and he works in the partner division in Microsoft Norway. His focus is Microsoft data and AI solutions and how they can help Microsoft partners and enable partners to deliver innovative solutions to our customers. And then we have Timo. Timo is a member of our team here in Finland. He's has long, over 30 years experience in ICT, and he has been working a long time with Power BI, and now lately is focusing on Fabric. He has also background in database design, databases, integrations, SQL optimization, and similar. So this is our team today. And the agenda looks something like this. I introduce and show some slides, and then Karina will tell more about experiences with Fabric and show some things. And Microsoft will have a speech after that one with Lasse speaking. And then we have Timo sharing experiences of 2 customer cases. One is kind of partial experience, meaning that you can implement Fabric as well only in some parts, and other one is more full. And then in the end, we have questions and answers session, so that you can ask some questions and get hopefully meaningful answers for your questions. So this is our agenda for today. I don't have, luckily, so many slides about Innofactor, but still I want to say that we are a truly Nordic company. We have teams and offices all over Nordic countries, strong customer presence, and our headquarters currently in Espoo, and where most of our people are, but we have quite a few offices also in like Sweden and Norway, for example. We have about 600 people attending our employed here at Innofactor. And we have, I don't know if they show at all, but these Microsoft designations, quite a few of them. So we truly know our Microsoft products. I thought I would start off with a slightly older picture. This is from roughly 5 years ago. What is interesting is that I think this is still relevant. Some terms have been changing or something, but the data is still in the middle. It doesn't matter if we are doing traditional data engineering, like getting reports for finance or getting reports for sales, or if we are doing AI. Both, or actually most of the use cases actually need some data. We need data for reports. We need data to train the AI. We need data to understand our world. What data actually is perhaps changing a bit. 20 years ago, data was mostly stuff that was in like relational databases. But nowadays, data can be much more complex and varied. It can be audio or video images or stuff from websites. But we do have still the same loop that goes back and uses data to gain intelligence. And I believe this is a thing that's not going to change. We always will need data. And of course, after we get some intelligence of the data, then we need to do some actions. Another picture talks about trends in innovation, driving trends. This is also from a few years back, but interestingly enough, AI was already there. Of course, back in like 8 years ago or something, blockchain was talk of the day, but big data and analytics, cloud, which I kind of think are like my main area, have been here and will be here just for the same reason in the previous slide I mentioned, that what enables innovation, it's data, either big data or analytics data, but still the data is there and we always will want to use it. There will be need for data. Coming forward to kind of modern days, this year, last year, Microsoft Fabric has become the most important data analytics, data engineering tool we have. I think there are some trends coming. People are wanting to unify their data and analytics platform. I have worked with companies like big telecom company in Finland that had 2 or 3 actual data warehouses. That works for a while, of course, but now people want to unify everything because we want to have a complete picture of the ecosystem we are living in. The business perspective needs to have all aspects, not just a part of them. So the unifying aspect of the kind of data engineering area is I think it's quite big at the moment. We have discussions with customers that want to unify and kind of bring together different platforms. Then different analytics trends are rising. Of course, still there are need for, how to say, perhaps traditional reporting, like financial reports. We need to know reporting on how sales is doing, but there's constantly more need for more analytical side, more kind of predictive needs, instead of just talking about our sales are doing like this. We want to predict that our sales will be something in the next 3 months or half a year or even further. Just looking in the back mirror is not enough. It's a surprisingly slow change to predictive analysis, but it's coming there. And now, of course, the tools are there. There are more AI-based tools. There are more Copilot-based tools and trends to do different things. And it makes life so much easier. And of course, the AI is penetrating also the data engineering side, kind of the code generating side, kind of reducing the amount of work we need. Sometimes people are a bit afraid of AI or using it, but you can always mix and match, kind of select the pieces that you are comfortable with and do that. But with AI, you really get new benefits from the productivity. Microsoft platform is a package, so to speak. It has all these different elements and then some which are not shown here. But I would say that it's perhaps a data warehouse in a box, if you want to use the old data warehouse word, because it has the one lake storage, it has all the tools for manipulating data, it has the tools for presenting data. It's modern, it's scalable, it's really something I think most of the customers will need. Fabric package, I think one of the main benefits here is that it simplifies things. Fabric is not, I would say it's not totally new. It has many elements like data factory that was already in base Azure, for example, but it's packaged easily so that it's easy to take and use. It's easy to buy because there are not so many elements you have to think of. And if I had to choose one really important thing, I think it's the one lake. the Fabric. The data lake, that's it included here, and it enables fast reporting. It enables many good things without having to get a database. You can use many kind of content here. And of course, it integrates well with AI and includes several co-pilots. There are some tools and connectors that enable our developers to better utilize data in different places. Of course, the Microsoft connectivity is very well supported, but also very well connected with other tools and APIs and third-party sources. And then the Power BI with the new versions enables us to share and create reporting content for all of our customers. That's something I think Fabric is really good at. Why you would choose Fabric? I truly believe Fabric enables us to drive business growth. It can eat or digest large amounts of data effectively. And when data is in one place, then you can do kind of semantic layers, connect data, get new insights, kind of connect money with the productivity numbers. And since the reporting is easy, perhaps with the co-pilot, anyone can do reporting and we can get easy, good results. And since the optimizing is kind of the mark of the day, at least in Finland, we get all kind of news from public sector that they want to save money and And that means that when you can optimize the usage of the software, it enables cost savings. And of course, the other side of cost saving is that if we can do the work more efficiently, then it enables us to do more. Fabric, some of you probably have seen kind of the traditional Fabric picture where there's on top there's these all nice icons, and then there's big one lake in the middle, and then perhaps some overview or something in the bottom. I kind of prefer this kind of old-fashioned kind of architecture picture, which shows that actually there are loads of sources that we can access easily. Database is especially well supported. And then we have kind of this data storage area, data manipulation area in the center, where one lake has a big meaning. And then we have different tools depending on our needs. We can use data factory or data flows connected to this Fabric data integration. We can do data science, we can do Databricks. So even if Databricks is not a micro product, it's well supported, and in Finnish scenarios, quite often there are some Databricks notebooks integrated here. And then of course we have the authentication, authorization, connection, and then the reporting analytic end with the semantic model, which kind of explains the data to the end user. That's kind of the metadata layer, if so it can be thought as that kind of thing. I mentioned a few times AI and Copilot. I'm not dwelling too deeply in the area, but there are many different co-pilots in the Fabric. There's data science and data engineering, kind of code generating things. There's Power BI or real-time intelligent co-pilot. So co-pilot is kind of the top term for many AI-enabled things that speed up our development and enable us more to do more and to save a bit money. This was my kind of introduction to the Fabric and our company. And then our next speaker is Karina, she will be talking about data engineering in Fabric. And please, Karina, you can take the presenter.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I will try to start off with a poll. So yeah, I will launch it now, and it will be fun to have some like engagement from the participants. You can see it now?
Yes.
On the screen? Yeah, so we will just have like a minute for people to respond. It's like nice to see if people have some hands-on experience with Fabric already, or yeah, they have been reading about it, or yeah, if some of attendees are also developing in the Fabric. Great, it seems. Can you also see the answers on the screen?
After you close the poll, you can show the results.
Yeah, okay. That's the first time I'm hosting this poll. Okay, we will have a couple of seconds more. Great. Okay, so I closed it. Now you can see the answers.
Click the share button. So then.
Yeah.
Yeah, super.
Now, great. Okay, so most of the attendees, they have read a bit about Fabric and heard of it. Some have also been clicking around. Yeah, and Power BI. Yeah, so I will showcase some Fabric at the end of my part, and yeah, you can see my PowerPoint, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And I will start. So yeah, I will begin by sharing our experience with the Fabric platform, how we have implemented it for one of our customers. My projects in recent years have been data platforms based on Azure, and the main development tools have been like Data Factory, Databricks, and Power BI. And I know a lot of customers, especially in Norway, use a lot of Power BI, Databricks they are quite interested in. So I will showcase how Fabric handles like these scenarios, how you can integrate with Databricks, or Fabric also have other products that is similar to Databricks as well. Yeah, so we there was a small Norwegian company. They wanted to start their data journey and chose to like build their first data platform with Fabric. We develop their first data platform, like using the trial version. Some of you guys have been reading material, heard about this. And it's nice to start with the trial versions to see like get quickly some value and start off. You can start off with like a small data platform just using the trial. And the goal for this customer to choose Fabric is also to like skip a few years of development step and be prepared for the future. And the initial outcomes of the platform is very common and standard, and it could have been sold just as good with like a traditional setup and a data platform. But the customer wanted to go for a solution they could have for like possibly decades to come, and can develop and add on to it as they become more and more mature and data driven and like ready to implement data science and AI products and so on. And since this company does not have like any data personnel like internally at this point, having a data platform developed in Fabric can reduce the threshold in the future to like become more data driven, because the interface is easy to use, and also for like business user to get into to data. And to go from having some Power BI reports, and if they want in the future to implement ML model and AI in Fabric, you can just like add another module instead of adding like a different type of product and integrate it. And this showcases just that like Fabric is an ideal platform also for like small and medium-sized organization. And if you're seeking to like quickly derive value from your data and be able to scale up for the future and create data solution in the same environment. So we'll show how we implemented Fabric for this customer, these steps. So first, we started creating Power BI reports, and just we had access to some on-prem data as a temporary solution. And this was a proof of concept, and it showed like quickly value. And then the customer decided to move forward with us and create the data platform and integrate like more source systems. And we used like data engineering to improve the existing connectors. We'll showcase afterwards like how many connectors you can use in Fabric. And we developed the medallion architecture. It's quite common in data platform these days. And we connected to gold tables or the tables closest to Power BI. For the existing reports we made in the first step. Then we integrated new system. It had like an API connector. A lot of you guys maybe have analyzed some of your system, and you see like it's the data comes from everywhere, and Fabric can handle this. And we develop more Power BI reports for the customer. Of course, these steps can be done in parallel, and you can just add on more systems using Fabric, using these like implementation steps, and also in the future you can add on some AI, data science if you want. But this just showcases like how easy it is to like be up and running with Fabric for small companies. Like Fabric is not just for the big companies, but we also see that it's like ideal for smaller and medium-sized company, and it will create value very quickly. Then I will soon click around a bit in the data engineering module in Fabric. Timo will later showcase more Power BI stuff, but I think it's nice to just showcase how easy and unified Fabric is to like click around in. And yeah, we'll show some pipelines. Maybe some of you know a bit about Data Factory before, and this concept about one lake that we always mention, and yeah, how medallion architecture can be implemented easily. And of course, I created a demo company, Nortrend, using AI. I will not show the customer's data. Yeah, here are the modules I'll be clicking around just for reference. Yeah, and one lake, we call that OneDrive for data. It's easy threshold to understand. Many of you have Excel data, and it's so easy to upload it to a platform now, and quite easy to access data. The point is like to not move data around. And yeah, we have this Parquet format. You can also use like, yeah, it's an open standard, so you can integrate it easily from other storage out there, like Amazon storage and Google storage. Yeah. So I will change over to my test environment. You can see the test environment now?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so this is the Fabric environment. We'll just show some of the modules and yeah, what we have available here. Here is the data engineering modules. We have Lakehouse, it's the storage I will show. Notebooks, quite similar to Databricks. For me, that worked a lot with Databricks. This was so easy to use. Maybe you have some developers that's into Databricks as well. And this is also a good tool to use. You can also integrate with the existing Databricks notebooks and stuff. And yeah, here you see data science just on your fingertips. Yeah, where you can also have like real-time data coming in. Yeah, I will show my my Lakehouse for this clothing company just quickly. But yeah, I have just like one table showing like salaries. Here it is, salaries for July, and yeah, I organized files into this medallion architecture, very common, as I mentioned in data platform. Here we have like the raw format. It's like how we use Data Factory to ingest data as it is from all the source systems. And then in the silver, we like join it. Like here we join like for all the stores, and yeah, we take out like all duplicates and yeah, make it ready for gold. This is what we will use in Power BI. So before you need to like deploy, you need to use like import mode to Power BI, but now you have like just like direct lake. It's like it's sitting in Power BI, and this was like before it took a lot of time, this import mode in in Power BI and just going from all this data engineering tool and storage and make it available in Power BI in the right time. So yeah, we have some salaries now. The August salary has entered the data platform, and we want to showcase this in the salaries table. So yeah, some of people in the business can access these tables, for instance, and so I will use pipelines, or like previously called Data Factory, to implement this into Silver. This is just to showcase, yeah, that they have implemented Data Factory into Fabric, and how unified like this solution is, like how you don't need to get into another window or another like application. So I will just take like salaries to Silver. Yeah, and here you can see some of the connectors we can use that is not from our Lakehouse. You can see they have like Snowflake. Here is like APIs. It's like SQL, Azure database. You can connect to everything. And yeah, we'll just go in here and create like a copy data. What I want to do is to just change like my raw format to this Parquet format, so I can easily put the data into my table. So we connect the source to the Lakehouse, and we want to convert the file. Takes a bit time here. Choosing this, so JSON. We want the destination to be like the silver folder. Of course, setting up this as a data engineer, we orchestrate like this is we automate like these processes and schedule it. But yeah, I just want you guys to see how this interface, it's so similar, and now it's yeah, easier to understand data and work with it yourself, not just like wait for it to come into Power BI. And I'm going to change it to the Parquet format and run this pipeline. Takes a bit time, it succeeded. And here you can just update this folder. And you see we have the parquet format. And now it's the, we'll show the magic. You can just load this now into the existing table, append it to the silver salaries. This is like the beauty with that, with the parquet format. Here we had just the July salaries, and it's updated. Takes a bit of some time to load first time. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here you see the August. So yeah, just if you guys have like Excel and stuff like that, can easily load it and yeah, get it into tables here to see like what the data is. Can also showcase just the data flow, which is very similar to the Power BI, like Power Queries. You can also see just like a lot of sources you can ingest data from. Here you see the data bricks. Yeah. Yeah, that was it for me. Yeah, who's next?
Thank you, Karina. If you have some questions, we can take them at the end. So we are making sure that we have enough time for presentations and stuff. But if you have questions, you can add them in the questions section.
Okay.
Now, next speaker will be Lasse Arnesen. So if Lasse can take control of the seminar tool.
Absolutely. So just let me know when you can see my presentation.
Yes. Now showing.
It's filming now. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you, Innofactor, for inviting me to this webinar today to talk about a bit about Fabric. It's super exciting times and an exciting product. So thank you for a great presentation so far, and hope the audience will enjoy the things I will share as well. I will cover a bit about kind of the overall value proposition for Microsoft Fabric, and also a bit about the pricing structure and pricing model. Also, I will stick around to the end, so if there are any questions about my content, you can of course put questions in the chat, and we'll make sure to get them answered either during the call or after. So there's no doubt about that data is really important these days. I think any company today needs to have a strategy for how they're going to get a good data platform in place, because if you're going to stay relevant tomorrow, then you need to be part of all of the changes happening that's now coming because of AI. And the way to kind of be a leader in this area is to have good data and to be able to actually enable all of these use cases that are now possible through AI, and especially generative AI. A little bit about kind of the development of Fabric. So we had the first announcement of Fabric was 1 year and a few months ago. It was in May 2023. Since then, we've had a really rapid pace of innovation. We have weekly releases, and we have an open roadmap where we can go in and look at the features that are coming. The product went in what we call general availability back in November. That means that we said now the product is ready for production usage. So it is still quite a new product, but it's based on technologies that we've had around for a while. The traction that we have with Fabric is enormous. Back in May, I think we had 11,000 paying customers on this technology, and it varies from the really big companies, but also way down to the smaller companies, as Karina mentioned, with how this actually scales quite nicely for also the small customers that we have, which I think is really exciting, that we now have a good offering for a data platform to smaller companies as well. So the roadmap is open. We also have this blog where we weekly post all of the updates that are happening to the product. So these are really good resources if you are kind of starting on Fabric. If there's any features that you need that aren't there yet, have a look in the roadmap. I wouldn't be too surprised if it was there. And also typically we tend to deliver on those tentative dates in the roadmap, of course, with some exceptions. So it's really transparent when it comes to the way this product is evolving for the future. And we had this large event every year, or we have it in May, which is called Microsoft Build. There we announce tons of new things around our products and technologies. And in one way, the things that we announced around Fabric was a bit disappointing because there wasn't too many news. All of it was in the roadmap beforehand. But I think it's a good thing because that means that we actually have a quite transparent roadmap, and where we actually can get a look into what's happening and what's coming in the future for the product. So you've kind of seen this before. What I want to touch upon on this slide is that we have built Fabric using many of the known technologies we've had in the past. So the data factory part in Fabric is built from scratch, but it's based on the Azure data factory technology, which we've had for years. Also data engineering, data warehouse, and data science. And parts of real-time intelligence is built upon Azure Synapse, or it's kind of further expanded upon Azure Synapse, which we still have as a product in Azure. So it's built using well-known and the best tools we've had for the different areas. Also, we have the reporting with Power BI, which is a super tool to create good reports and data visualizations. And that's, I guess, Power BI is the part that is the most similar to what it was in the past. We also have a couple of other important areas. So AI, I'll get back to that a bit later, but it's a data platform built for the AI era, which means that we have tons of AI support within the platform itself, but it's also meant to enable AI scenarios on your data. We have the OneLake, which is a super important part, which is essentially where you put your data. And that's where you have it, all of it, and it simplifies the data flow quite a lot. Also, it's worth mentioning Purview, which is the more around kind of the data governance aspects. We can categorize data and classify it according to your business definitions. And you can also then, if you are using Purview today for your documents in SharePoint, which many of our customers are using, you can then reuse the same classifications that you're using for documents within the Fabric platform. So when we talk about Fabric, we have kind of 4 pillars that we touch upon. So one is the complete analytics platform part, which is essentially we want to have a broad platform that cover as much as possible of the needed requirements for the customers. Of course, there are certain things that you might need to build. And we want to have it unified. So we want to have one platform that is unified, that the user interface is similar, and the technologies within the platform are integrated without you having to write code and set things up and configure network and etc. It is built on kind of the SaaS definition, so we try to make it quite abstract when it comes to the needed hardware and all of that, but still we are having quite a flexible pricing model, even though we call it a SaaSified product. We also have, of course, security and governance all over the platform. So the reason why we need a complete analytics platform is because of this picture. So this is a picture showing commonly used data technologies in 2024. I think this slide has roughly 2,000 logos on it, and you are probably using some of these technologies today. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think all of these services have their pros and cons. But the biggest problem we often see with customers today is that they have 10, 20, 30, 100 different data and AI technologies that kind of creates the data platform. And what we try with Fabric is to try to kind of have a baseline that covers all of the common needs. And then of course you might have specific requirements and business needs that makes it so that you need to have some of these as well. And we have a plan for how you can do that quite unified with Fabric as well. I'll get back to that a bit later. So the landscape is super complex today. We try to simplify that a lot with Fabric. And the problem, if you have 10 or 20 of these technologies today, none of them are integrated most of them will not be integrated at all. So you need to then set up the connectivity, you need to have the API access set up, you need to configure network, etc. So there's tons of work if you are looking at the picture that I like this. So with the software as a service version of this kind of the technologies we have, there's many things we believe is a big game changer there. So one part is the onboarding. So we believe that when you start with Fabric, it's quite easy to get started. And that's because the data engineering and OneLake and the data science and the reporting part all work on the same data. All these technologies are now built to actually work together without you having to do anything. It's instantly there, so you don't need to have an infrastructure resource helping you set up resources. All is there. You can use everything from the get-go. And of course, you have the intuitive user interface. It's easy to get started. Also, we have a setup that is kind of the default setup should be good enough for many use cases, meaning that you don't have to fiddle around with the initial setups to just get started. There is tons of settings you can't use, so minimal knobs is maybe a bit misleading, but the default settings are there, and they make it auto-optimized and auto-integrated and makes it easy to get started. And also, it's the centralization of all these data services is so valuable for an operations perspective, because if you saw the slide with the 2,000 logos, all of these services need to have their own governance, their own security in place, all of that. You need to do the compliance part on all of those. While with Fabric, you have all these things in one place. So you have tenant-wide governance. You set up the governance one place, and then it's applied for everyone. You have centralized security, so you can set up your security one place, and then it's compiled for everyone in the tenant. And also, of course, compliance. We want to be leading when it comes to the policy compliance part. Another big, really important part when it comes to data platforms today is that we also acknowledge that when it comes to data platforms, it is complex, and the baseline and the product we have with Fabric, sometimes you will have needs that we don't meet with our products and that we probably never will meet. And that's okay. Then you need to maybe look at other solutions as well. And what we are now doing is that we're kind of inviting all of the other platforms to build their Fabric version of their services, so that they also are unified in the platform and it works seamlessly together. And these are some of the companies already working on building their Fabric workloads so that they are tightly integrated with Fabric, and without you having to then do all of those kind of initial setups and integrations and all of that. So if you are using Informatica for master data management or Proficere, then you can easily get that into Fabric in the future. Also, this is recently announced, so this is in the working. Might not be available yet, but when it comes to kind of this complex landscape with many different tools and technologies, we make that easier by kind of inviting them into the Fabric workload experience. So when it comes to the lake-centric and open aspects, Karina mentioned some of this as well. I'll briefly touch upon it as well. We want this to be an open platform because we also see that, yes, we have a complete platform that can do most of the things you would need to do when it comes to a data platform. But if you have invested heavily in Databricks today, you have your notebooks, you have the competency, and you have the resources and everything set up in Databricks, that doesn't mean that you cannot work with Fabric. You can still use the OneLake, you can still use the Power BI and real-time intelligence, and connect your Databricks to the OneLake instead, because it's an open platform built on open standards that many different technologies are working quite nicely with. So it's not like you have to double down on everything Fabric, and because this isn't really an open platform, and that's part of the vision for this as well. And the one lake aspect, it's you have one lake in your tenant, so that's the one you have, and then you do the security and governance across that one lake. So unless you have a multi-tenant setup, you will have the production data and the development data in the same one lake, but you have, of course, then ways to limit access and set up the security between those. And all the different services in Fabric, like data factory and data engineering, etc. One thing they have in common is that all of them speak the same data language. All of them work with Delta Parquet as their format, and meaning that if you put data in one lake from a data factory, you can easily then retrieve it in a data warehouse or in real-time intelligence or in Power BI, which is super valuable, especially maybe for the business users, because then you have the data easily available also for the business users. Another thing we recently announced is that we have a expanded partnership with Snowflake in the making. So this is also something that the engineering teams at Microsoft and Snowflake is now working on implementing. But one thing we're adding to Fabric in the future is what's called Iceberg support, which is another data format. Meaning, and Snowflake is also committed to supporting Iceberg as a format in their technology stack. And that means that in the future, you'll have bidirectional data access between Fabric and Snowflake. So if you have some data in Snowflake, you can easily work on that in Fabric. And if you have some data in Fabric, and you can easily work with that in Snowflake. So these technologies that might at first hand seem like direct competitors are also working quite nicely together. And it's not like you have to choose either or, because in many cases, Snowflake might be a good choice as well. And also there are certain cases where Fabric will be the obvious choice. For instance, if you have Dynamics 365 business applications from Microsoft and you want that data in your data platform, getting it to Fabric is super easy. Getting it to Snowflake is a bit harder, and then it might make sense to combine Fabric with Snowflake in those instances. Also, if you want to have your data from Snowflake available to Microsoft Copilot solutions, then also kind of this expanded partnership makes that a lot easier. And the business users, they are super important. And I think when we launched Fabric, it was a really mature tool for the business users. I believe we had a way to go when it comes to the technical side. We're catching up and it's become quite good now. But for the business users, I think there's many really awesome things for them there. And it's actually quite simple things. So Power BI itself was and is a tool mainly for the business users to create reports and data visualizations. And Power BI in Fabric is still Power BI, but you have green logos instead of only yellow. And the Power BI itself is still Power BI. But the biggest difference is, Karina mentioned briefly the performance part. So before you had to choose if you wanted real-time data and a slow report, or not real-time data and a fast report. But with Power BI, you kind of get both. So you get data in real time and you get it fast, updated in your report. So you don't have to kind of either have a report that takes many seconds to load, or a report that's always up to date. Now you kind of get both of those, which is super nice. And the other aspect is that for a business users in the past, when it came to getting actual data into the report, that wasn't necessarily a walk in the park. You didn't easily have a place where you could look for data. It was typically spread across many sources, and you probably wouldn't have access to it. With Power BI, what we typically see in Fabric is that if you're following the medallion architecture, where you have kind of the raw layer and you have the gold layer at the end, you give the business user access to the gold layer for the data sets that they should have access to, and then they can pick and choose the data they want in the report without having to call IT or having to find someone to kind of get that data ready for them. It will always be there, always up to date, without the business users having to fight to get that data. We also have the real-time intelligence, and I think this is something that will be really valuable for the business users. Of course, on the left-hand side on this slide, there is things that you probably need someone else to do as well. You need some IT developers, data engineers, etc., to get the real-time data flowing into the platform. But once you have set up kind of the real-time data flow, typically this is for Internet of Things scenarios where you have sensors around that's sending data and stuff like that. Once you have that part set up, which is quite easily set up with real-time intelligence in Fabric, what you get from the business users side of things is you have kind of a low-code approach where you can set up processes around those data. You can analyze it in real time. But I think the most important part is that you can actually have the Microsoft Fabric act based on the data that's flowing into the platform in real time. So you can set up triggers that, for instance, if I had a sensor in the room I'm in now, and that is sensing temperature, it will then continuously send in real time the temperature for my room. And once that reaches a threshold, maybe 30 degrees or something like that, and it stays at 30 degrees for 15 minutes or a defined threshold of time as well, you can then have the platform actually do something with that. That can be send an email to an electrician, or it can be to trigger a Power Automate flow, which is essentially a way where you can have any logic running. So you can actually make it and go order something. You can have it create a ticket in a system, or what you. It's kind of your imagination that will be the blocker for what you can do with that data. And the kind of the thresholds and triggers you can set up are really flexible. So it's not only like if it hits 30 degrees, then you order an electrician, because that might be because somebody touched it or something like that. You can set it up for having to stay at a certain level for a certain period of time. So there's many ways you can make sure that it's triggering when you want to. And it's always hard to invite Microsoft without us talking about AI. It is the most top of mind thing for us these days, and Fabric is no different when it comes to AI. It is a data platform that we built from scratch for the era of AI. That's the key thing with Fabric. It's built for this, and also with that we have three different things. We have the Copilot part, which has been briefly mentioned, which is essentially when you work in Fabric, you will have different Copilot experiences within Fabric. So if you are in Power BI, you can get support to get insights into a report. You can get help to create a report. But if you're in data engineering, then you can get help writing your Python code in a similar way that you can with GitHub Copilot. And of course, the last part is you can get generative AI on your data. So think ChatGPT, but actually with knowledge of the data in your data platform. And when it comes to the Copilots, they are everywhere. We have an ambition to have Copilot for all of the workloads in Fabric. And we're continuously working with making them better. I think they are starting to become really powerful, some of them. So they are, this will kind of make the people working within Fabric more efficient. That's kind of the end goal of these Copilots. And so this is a sample where you can see how you can use natural language, just a normal way of writing in the Copilot within Power BI when you have a report open, because you have something that you are wondering about the report, and then you will get an answer based on the data and the visualizations in the report. And you can then continue the discussion, asking it to add more information, asking it to change the format, etc., to make it so that you actually get what you need. And this use case itself is actually something that I use quite often, because at Microsoft we of course use Power BI quite heavily for how we track progress and how we do reporting. And oftentimes I get that question from my boss: how is it going with this initiative you're driving? And typically we'll have a report, and then I can go to that report asking it to drag out the numbers that is important for my boss, and then just giving her the output without me having to actually spend tons of time to actually write it itself. We also have the generative AI on your data, which is essentially a way where you can, in Fabric, you can set up what's called AI skills. And essentially what that is that you configure parts of the data in OneLake. So you select what tables, from which data warehouses and lakehouses that you want your generative AI chatbot to have access to. You select those sources, and then essentially you have then the ability to have a chatbot that is grounded, meaning that it will reply based on your data in the data from Microsoft Fabric. So this is in public preview. I think it's going to be really exciting, and it's an easy way to, if you have Copilot for Microsoft 365, for instance, it's an easy way to bring additional data to those experiences. So this is going to be really important as well. So let's talk a bit about the pricing part of Fabric. I see I have almost running out of time, so I'll do it quite briefly. But we have essentially two things if you want to look at it on a really high level. So we have the compute part, which is the needed compute power to run the different workloads, and then you have storage, so the number of gigabytes of data you have in the OneLake. That's essentially the two things we have. And they are priced in different ways. So storage is essentially priced per gigabyte per month quite easily, and compute you share. It's a shared pool, meaning that you have one compute unit that you buy and that you can use for all of the different aspects of Microsoft Fabric. And you have two versions. You have pay as you go, which is then billed per second, so you can turn it off whenever you want to, or you have 1 year reservations where you then you then commit to having that capacity for the next year, but then you get a big discount on the price. I think it's 40% or something like that. So capacity units, that's the compute power that you have that you are paying for. It's an abstract layer because it consists of all of the networking, all of the CPU, all of the GPU needed to run tasks, queries, jobs, etc. And of course, running a data engineering workload and a report that requires really different types of hardware, but it's using kind of the shared pool in this way. So you can, for instance, run tons of data engineering workloads in the evening or in the night, and then turn those off during the daytime, and then have that capacity available to show reports instead, because then you have all the users at work looking at the reports. CU consumption, this is essentially correlated to the compute effort needed for the things you're doing within Fabric, and that's kind of what you are consuming. And of course, we have good reports showing what compute power you have available and the consumption that you have that is included in Fabric, so that you can easily look if you're, if you have enough capacity or if you need to scale up or down. When it comes to OneLake pricing, for those who aren't familiar with Azure storage accounts and blob storage, it's essentially the same. This is the West US prices. They are almost identical to the ones in Europe, but there are some small differences. You have three different ways of storing data in Fabric. You have OneLake, which is our regular OneLake, which is the cheapest option. You have OneLake with business continuity and disaster recovery, meaning that we will have all your data replicated in another region. So if you only have the OneLake storage, then you will have 3 copies in different physical data centers within one region. But if you have the business the disaster recovery version, you will also have a copy in 3 other data centers in another region. So if, for instance, an earthquake happens and all of the data centers goes away, the data will still then be available in another country for you to then continue working with. That comes with an additional cost. OneLake caching, that's essentially the data that you have in cache in real-time intelligence. If you're using the Internet of Things to have data flowing into the system in real time, then you are using the cache. It's meant for storage of data only in shorter periods of time, and also it's a bit more expensive. And you can, of course, I forgot to mention that, but when you have this data flowing into the real-time intelligence module, you can also then select to put it into OneLake for permanent storage as well, so it's not like it's always goes away. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to storage is that Fabric is a multi-region service, so you can set up Fabric and you can have data stored in multiple countries and multiple regions. You can also have data factories and data engineering notebooks running in multiple regions. And if you are working with data or have a data engineering notebook, for instance, in the US that's working on data that is stored in Europe, then you will have some additional costs associated with that. It's not something that we see often, but it's worth just being aware of that as well. Last but not least, we have a really big conference coming up in Stockholm in September. Last I checked, there were still still seats available. It's going to be super cool. I think the program includes everything. Fabric is a gigantic product with tons of different aspects of it. We've only briefly touched upon some of them today. This will be a place where you can really get to learn and understand in detail all of the aspects of Fabric. I will certainly be there, and there's going to be tons of social activities as well as all of the technical content as well. So that was what I
there are lots of our people as well there. There are lots of our people as well in Stockholm from Innofactor. Yeah.
Fantastic. So yeah, there will be tons of customers, tons of partners. Innofactor will of course be there together with Microsoft. So that was what I was going to present. So key takeaways here: if you want the slides, you can scan the QR code and you can get the PDF of my slides. Of course, they will also be shared by Innofactor at the end, I assume. I will stick around for the Q&A session as well. So if you have any questions, put them in the question section, and I will get back to them at the end. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Lasse. It's always good to hear the insight from the Microsoft end. Things are happening so fast that it's hard to keep up. Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely. And oftentimes when it comes to especially the pace of innovation and the services and changes that happens to Fabric, it goes so fast. So very often when I'm talking about Fabric, I get a question and I say, no, that's not possible. And then somebody else in the audience like, yeah, you released that last week. Now it's possible, of course. So it's hard to stay up to date on everything. But it's fun times, of course.
Yeah. We should be able to take control. Okay. Just a small. Lasse probably has to release the.
Sorry, what do I need to do? Should I give it back to Timo or?
Put me on. I'm the kind of top one of the. If you can. No,
like
now
that.
it's yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Sorry about the inconvenience. It's sometimes happening. Now should see. Yeah, we have the slide. And then Timo will continue on this one.
So, as Nico mentioned, I will be going through two customer cases. First one has been implemented by a colleague of mine, but I'm presenting it here. The customer here is in the public and health sector, and they have already existing reports, but they wish to change the reporting end to use direct lake integration Fabric. And status is that it's in testing for approval. They are running currently production and this Fabric version concurrently. So it is can be sometimes very seamless to move from older architecture to Fabric. The benefits here are very strong. Gateway would not be needed in Fabric, which brings savings. Also, there will be less capacity usage in premium F64 capacity, and it will also reduce the maintenance work. It's not full-fledged fabric solution from end to end, but still the benefits are very strong. So let me show first the model architecture from Microsoft. And here on the right side, there is on green box, you can see Microsoft Fabric, and earlier steps won't change anything. So the target is only to change the reporting end. And the actual architecture is almost identical. Ingestion is already or is done with Databricks instead of Data Factory. But other than that, I think it's more or less the same. And on the top picture, you can see the existing or the production architecture. And on the lower part, there is with Fabric. And as you can see, the gateway has been removed. And actually, it is more simple, the implementation in some point. And it also makes this golden data type of solution here. Then the bigger customer case is 150 million euro private company that is working on public sector. And they wanted to create everything from scratch. So this is a very interesting case. And the status now is that we are developing it, still nothing in production yet. And they want to have both internal and customer reports. And later on, I will show you how it means to the architecture. And the project size is several man-months. So again, here is Microsoft model architecture. This is not very close to the actual architecture, but this was the closest one I found from the models. Difference is that in the customer case is a bit more simple in that it doesn't use silver layer for reports, which is the normal case, but then it has a diamond layer in addition, which is missing from here. But it is actually in some other model architecture. So this was still the closest one. So if we look at the top on the left, we have the data sources, and most of it is with the REST interface, but some SQL integration will be in future also. And the idea with medallion architecture is that to bronze, you bring all of the data you can from the integrations, and then you make copies of it to silver and gold, where you decrease the data you have and simplify it for your needs. And you also make changes you need. We have used a bit of different mechanism from bronze to silver and gold. There's two of them are with notebooks, and one of them is with that's from its data flow, actually. Data view. Then on the code level, we have one extra table, which is calendar table. So that is joint table from all of the reports need calendar. So we have a common calendar for everything. Then on lower, we have a platinum and diamond, or actually probably we'll have only one of them. It's quite simple change from the gold layer to diamond layer. So I think one will be enough. And some of the data that is used for internal reports from code layer will be shown to customer reports, where customer can see their own or can view their own report with only their own data. And it's naturally on a different layer, so that we have a good security that customers won't see other customers' data in any. There is no possibility for that. Then experiences on integration list is a bit long. So, for example, there are wizards which support REST interface, and there are wizards which support XML files, but there was not a wizard which support XML content from REST interface. So something like this can happen. It's not a big issue because there are other ways to integrate if the wizard doesn't exist. Then data flows, they were surprisingly slow with premium capacity. And actually, we needed to implement some SQL views to enhance the performance sufficiently. Notebooks have been working very fast, and there has been not similar issues with them. So sometimes you may need to choose between fast implementation. If you make a data pipeline, it can be super fast, like Karina showed you earlier today. And data flows, they are also fast to do. And if you have data analysts working, then they are very familiar with Power Query language. So it speeds up that development. But as mentioned, if you have a lot of data, the performance might not be sufficient. If you need fast execution or you have a lot of data, then you need to use notebooks, maybe. But this gives some options that you might make your development environment with the faster integration method and later production environment with faster execution method. We tried to manage without deployment pipelines or deployment pipeline similar, and that doesn't work. So I brought it up there. But actually, this is Microsoft also says that you need to use deployment pipelines, so it shouldn't have been this for us. But then Fabric and Git, they have an overlap in several places, and that has been causing issues, and that's not working so well yet. On the security side, there is only one issue we have been missing, which is key vault support for notebooks. I think it was in due on the last quarter this year. And one major defect, if when you're using SQL editor, then in Fabric you always need to have a lot of tabs where you are jumping from one place to another. You want to see what is in the database or in the data lake, and then you sometimes jump between development to testing. And what happened to me was that the SQL editor jumped from one place to another also when I do changes to other tab. So actually I was executing SQL commands to wrong database and I can't see it from SQL editor. So now we're testing if we change the database names so that the environment is in the name, then we can always see what we are doing where. And some SQL limitations with Lakehouse Notebook SQL combination, which are not present in Python. So this can surprise me at least. So you need to check for other alternatives sometimes if you cannot do it with one way. And then the last one and the smallest one is some syntax difference on SQL in different. And report side is a lot shorter. So if normal requirement is that you want to give report users access to only to the report, but not to the data behind it. And actually this doesn't come out of the book directly. So you need to make some implementation to do that, to protect the data, so to say. Then there has been some errors when connecting to semantic model. And we are still working on that case. And if we look at the small report that we do with old import model, using old import model, then it is a lot faster to do it with old way. So working in Fabric, when we talk only about the reporting side, then it is slower because you have to use tools that are on the integration side and they are not as good as in desktop. So for small work, it takes more time to do it. But then Fabric is better architecture, and in bigger cases or when you have lots of complex data, then using medallion architecture, for example, using Fabric, you can simplify it better and you can make more sense of it easier. So in more complex system, this Fabric solution should be better also on the reporting side. And if you know what is golden data set, then Fabric should be better than that. So it comes kind of automatic with the Fabric. This slide is only my opinion. So previous was experiences. But if we compare of making new project with Fabric and without Fabric, If you don't use medallion architecture, then bringing medallion architecture increase infrastructure cost because you have several copies of the data. But one lake actually decreases this effect. So there are links in one lake which are super fast to implement, and they decrease the work and also the duplication of data. So if you compare medallion architecture without Fabric and with Fabric, then infrastructure expenses should decrease as well. Infrastructure work, there should be a clear decrease. All integration work, I'm not an expert on this, but I would expect decrease as well. And a big issue is with the reports that may probably have more in the future or in Fabric. But as overall, about same or smaller perhaps. So unless it's the first Fabric implementation. So we have on customer case C, we have 3 developers, and actually all of us recommend Fabric. And like me, I have worked with many decades, and if I don't like something, I just try to avoid saying it, or I try to say it very nicely. But still, we all 3 developers of us can really recommend Fabric today. You will get more detailed sentences on the slides.
Okay. Thank you, Timo. That was our actual presentations today. Really interesting stuff to hear. There have been, or there will be some time for the questions. I just have to click on the next slide. We got one question about, do you think that the definition of data and information is relevant? Scroll a bit down. Is relevant for the development of knowledge. I think the quite common view of data and information and knowledge is the kind of the data, information, knowledge, wisdom pyramid. The data is the kind of base layer, the raw data, unstructured and without context and stuff. And then the information is kind of the aggregated level where you, for example, have combined a bit of data and you can possibly answer things like who has done this or when it was done or something. And then the knowledge is kind of the upper level where you have analyzed and looked into the data and are beginning to get answers to questions like how or why or these kind of things. And then the 4th layer is the wisdom, which is, I don't know if it's needed, but in data science it's more like the ability to do good decisions. And yes, the definition is, in my opinion, it's relevant, but it's also something that people see differently. I wouldn't use the exact terms in any customer case without asking that what do you actually mean by this, because they are they can be seen quite differently. Then we have a question about how much Fabric ensures the data security and compliance with the industry standards. Fabric and Microsoft support a wide variety of different security and regulatory compliances like GDPR and HIPAA and others. And then there's, of course, the data encryption, access control, monitoring. So I think it's safe to say that Fabric is fairly well supporting different data security and compliance issues.
I think at least what I have seen about this is that it should be probably better than current technology.
Yeah, there are ready-made things available more in there. And the last question we have a kind of the scalability issues. The whole concept of Fabric is kind of based on the capacity-based model, and since it's capacity-based model, you can probably buy, I don't know, unlimited amount of capacity, but anyway, you can scale up to really big implementations if needed. And of course, since the capacity-based model can be, modified or implemented in different ways, you can also decide that you need more capacity at certain peak periods or something. And there are, of course, different methods for data loading of bursting and smoothing mechanism to enable the high compute things.
I think also that import technology on Power BI, it uses PowerScript, and basically in Fabric you have data flows that are using PowerScript as well. So the capacity is about same there. In Fabric you can use notebooks where the capacity or the performance improves, and with that you can manage more data, or you can expand your system better than in older import architecture.
Is there a chart showing all Microsoft platforms, 365, Copilot, Dynamics, Azure, etc.? If Lasse is still there, do you think there's one chart showing all?
Sorry, can you repeat one time for me, please?
Is there a chart showing all Microsoft platforms, 365, Copilot, Dynamics, Azure, etc.?
If there's a chart associated with the Copilots?
I think it's for everything.
Yeah, so
what they are looking
if I
for
understand the question correctly, it's about pricing of Copilots, or?
I think it's more like a general kind of total architecture picture, perhaps.
So yeah, I guess we have from the Copilot's perspective, we have Copilots in many of our tools. In Fabric, you have Copilot for the different experiences within Fabric, and the way from a charge and price perspective, it's as a pay-as-you-go way. You need the F64 SKU, which is a bit costly to use the Copilots, and it's a different kind of Copilots than the other ones that we have. But you can, of course, use Fabric to prepare data to have be available for the other Copilot solutions from Microsoft as well.
Yeah. All right. Otherwise, someone has other questions or things to address? If not, I thank you all for attending, and hopefully this was useful and interesting. We will be sharing the slides and send you an email about this, including the material, so that you can look through it. And of course, I would suggest that if you have any questions, please contact us. Either of us, it doesn't matter in which country you are, we will anyway be in touch with Peter quite often, so we get the information to you as needed. And I would also like to remind that since there are experts all over Nordic countries for us, we do share resources and can handle different size of projects quite easily. Thank you for attending, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye.